Welcome back, cinephiles, to this month's journey through time, where celluloid ghosts flicker back to life and cultural footprints grow deeper with every passing decade. Hi everyone, Nico Luro here, and welcome back to Waves Entertainment, where this month we will be looking at movies that are celebrating 10, 20, 30, and 40 year milestones. If you're new to the channel and movies are your jam, please do be sure to hit the subscribe button, and do be sure to also follow us across all other social media platforms. The links will be in the description below. In a world obsessed with what's next, it's vital to remember what's endured. These films on this month's video aren't just old, they're time capsules of style, storytelling, and social context. Whether they've aged gracefully or not, we revisit them, not just to assess quality, but to reflect on where we've been and how far cinema has come. Let's open the vault for July's movie milestones. First entry at 10 years old, Ant-Man. Marvel was already flexing its omnipresence by 2015. But Ant-Man offered something refreshingly minor in scale and tone, a heist comedy wearing superhero spandex. The film thrives on Paul Rudd's understated charisma and the playful dynamic between tech and absurdity. It also boasts one of the MCU's most imaginative final battles, set inside a child's bedroom. A decade later, its scaled down stakes make it feel almost radical in an era where every hero seems to battle existential collapse. Has it aged well? Surprisingly, yeah. Light, inventive, and surprisingly nostalgic in the MCU's increasingly bloated landscape. Our second movie at 10 years old is Pixels. What should have been a giddy love letter to arcade nostalgia plays instead like a joyless exercise in pandering. Despite some clever visual set pieces, the Pac-Man chase comes to mind. Pixels sinks under its own lazy writing and aggressively unfunny performances. It wastes its high-concept premise and offers little beyond loud effects and low-effort gags. Has it aged well? No. Even with retro appeal, I'm afraid this one is already a dusty cartridge. Southpaw. Fueled by a transformative performance from Jake Gyllenhaal, Southpaw punches with emotional intensity but swings wide narratively. Antoine Fuqua's direction brings visceral brutality to the ring, yet the script falls into formulaic redemption tropes. The tragedy and trauma feel authentic, but the storytelling often feels like it's shadowboxing. Still, Gyllenhaal's commitment and the gritty aesthetic do give it some staying power. Has it aged well? I mean, Gyllenhaal absolutely has. The film itself remains uneven but respectable. I'd perfectly understand if this was or indeed wasn't part of your physical media collection. Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. This is the installment where the Mission Impossible franchise truly hit its second golden age. Director Christopher McQuarrie blends sleek storytelling with operatic stunts, including the now iconic airplane takeoff sequence. Rebecca Ferguson's introduction as Isla Faust revitalizes the series, offering depth and mystery. It's smart, muscular filmmaking that balances spycraft, action, and style with astonishing finesse. Has it aged well? Impeccably. In my opinion, it set a new bar for blockbuster craftsmanship that very few movies have equaled or even topped. Moving on to 20 years old, and this one feels very timely with the imminent release of the new movie, Fantastic Four, a relic from the pre-MCU era. Fantastic Four is bright, cartoonish, and painfully of its time. Its tone is closer to a Saturday morning cartoon than a modern superhero fare, and while it often stumbles, there's a sincerity at its core. Michael Chiklis' thing is genuinely compelling, and Chris Evans' Johnny Storm is, frankly, more fun than his turn as Captain America. Campy? Absolutely. But there's a naive charm to this movie that now makes it feel more retro in the best possible way, as opposed to bad. Has it aged well? Not really, but it's gained almost ironic appeal as a snapshot of pre-MCU dominance. 20 years old, also Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Tim Burton's remake is visually inventive but tonally jarring. Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka is more sociopathic than whimsical, and the unnecessary backstory robs the character of his mystique. That said, the production design is often dazzling, and Danny Elfman's musical adaptation of Dahl's poems are strangely hypnotic. It's a film of contradictions. Way too dark, I would argue, for children, but way too slight for adults. Has it aged well? Aesthetically, yes. As a cohesive piece of storytelling, not so much. Wedding Crashers. This raunchy comedy of bad behavior and unlikely romance exploded in 2005 and helped cement the frat pack era. Vaughn and Wilson have undeniable chemistry, and the film rides on its audacity. But the gender politics feel wildly dated, and some set pieces now provoke more winces than laughs. Still, there's an energy to this movie that does carry through, especially in its quotable moments. Has it aged well? It depends on your tolerance for mid-2000s bro comedy. Let's say, selectively? The Island, Michael Bay's venture into sci-fi, is surprisingly ambitious. The first half explores themes of identity, autonomy, and class with unexpected restraint, especially by Michael Bay's standards. The second half, true to form, descends into high-octane chase sequences and exploding helicopters. Frankly, Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson give it more humanity than it deserves. Has it aged well? The idea, yes, the idea has aged well. The execution, not so much. It remains an intriguing, somewhat interesting misfire. 30 years old, an all-time classic in Clueless. Amy Heckering's Emma adaptation is the crown jewel of 90s teen cinema. Don't at me. It's as whip-smart as it is fashion-forward, and Alicia Silverstone's Cher remains a feminist icon in designer heels. It skewers Beverly Hills superficially while embracing the sweetness beneath it. Sharp, stylish, endlessly quotable, it's a film that defined an era while somehow remaining timeless. Has it aged well? Totally. Also 30 years old, First Knight, a medieval epic that plays more like a soap opera with swords. Richard Gere brings American charm, but sadly little gravitas, and the love triangle feels oddly sterile. Only Sean Connery elevates this material with his natural kingly presence. It looks expensive, but it lacks soul. Has it aged well? I've got a soft spot for this movie. I would say that it's aged well in costume only. Narratively, it's a bit of a dusty scroll. Species. Equal parts sci-fi, erotica, and monster movie. Species thrives on its provocative central concept and Natasha Henstridge's cold-blooded performance. It's B-movie trash served with A-movie polish. And while it occasionally veers, more than occasionally veers into nonsense, it remains weirdly hypnotic. Has it aged well? As cult cinema, yes, it's never boring, this film. 9 Months. A star-studded, stacked cast-filled rom-com that tries to tap into the anxieties of impending parenthood, but ends up treading familiar ground. Hugh Grant does his nervous stammer routine, Robin Williams shows up to be a Russian version of Robin Williams, and the likes of Jeff Goldblum, Tom Arnold, Joan Cusack, and Julianne Moore add extra layers to the plot. The laughs do feel safer rather than sharper, and there's no discounting how inaccurate it depicts pregnancy, especially in the year 2025. Has it aged well? It's charming, it's got its place on every person's DVD shelf, so yes, embrace this one. Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. The Die Hard on a Train formula taken to its logical and laughable extreme. Steven Seagal mumbles and punches his way through another crisis, but the film never matches the surprise grit of the original Under Siege. It's competent, silly, but still oddly enjoyable if you're in the right mood. Has it aged well? Ask yourself this: does comfort food age well? This is comfort food, that's all. Free Willy 2, the heartfelt environmental messaging remains, but the emotional pull of the original is sadly lost in sequel bloat. The whale is still majestic, the kid still brooding, but the magic feels slightly diluted. I do think this franchise is one for the kids. Has it aged well? Yeah, gently. It's maybe unfairly forgotten, and it is one that every parent should maybe show their kids. Waterworld, Kevin Costner's ambitious post-apocalyptic aquatic epic, is no longer defined by its now infamous budget, but by its commitment to world building. Yes, it's clunky and it's overlong, but it's also visually bold and strangely prescient in its environmental themes. Jean Triplehorn is the perfect damsel in distress, and Dennis Hopper just chews scenery for fun. You know what? It weirdly has aged well. It's eco sci-fi pulp that, I can't believe I'm saying this, I would argue actually deserves a comeback. Moving on to 40 years, Back to the Future. This isn't just a classic, it's a masterpiece. Every beat is tight, every setup pays off, and every line matters. Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd created one of cinema's greatest duos, and Zemeckis directs like a magician with a stopwatch. Time travel has never been this fun or this emotionally grounded, and I include Avengers Endgame in that. Has it aged well? For the second time, perfectly. This movie could literally premiere for the first time ever tomorrow, and it would still dazzle audiences around the world. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the third installment in George Miller's saga, adds myth and spectacle, but loses some of the raw intensity of The Road Warrior. Still, Tina Turner is unforgettable, and the film's blend of chaos and poetry does indeed set the stage for Mad Max Fury Road years and decades later. Has it aged well? Yeah. It's post-apocalyptic and operatic as you like. Narratively, it does wobble, but it's still a fascinating watch. It's one of those movies you'll watch and think, man, they don't make movies like this anymore. Belongs on everyone's DVD shelf. From the teenage wisdom of Clueless to the DeLorean-fueled perfection of Back to the Future, July's milestone lineup is a study in tonal range, risk-taking, and cinematic evolution. Some films feel like fossils, others like buried treasure, and a rare few timeless icons. We revisit these films not out of nostalgia alone, but because they remind us what movies can be. Even the flawed ones. In fact, especially the flawed ones. So here's to another decade gone, and here's to the films that dare to remain. My name's Nico Liro, thank you for joining us here on Waze Entertainment. If you want to see more of my personal content, you can head on over to the Silver Screen Dudes on YouTube and on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you there, but make sure you're connected to us right here at Waze Entertainment. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to follow us on other social platforms or on TikTok, Insta, we're everywhere. Go check us out. And until next month, for more classic movie reviews, keep cinema alive, long love cinema, and keep classic cinema alive. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye for now.